You're super busy. So this is Cynthia Mba. Right, I've got to pronounce it properly. Yeah. Mbawalu. Did I get it right?
Mbamalu.
Mbamalu. Say it again.
Mbamalu.
Mbamalu. Because I tell them that the part of Igbo in me, they never seem to get it. So please tell them. Mbamalu is the director of voter education. Have I got it right? At
director of programs.
Director of programs, I beg your pardon. At Yaga. You may have seen Yaga. They've been on Sandra's show. They've been on Sharif's show. They're all over the TV. And I've said on several WhatsApp group, for me, my heroes in this throughout the last year is Yaga. They know that, and I'm saying it now because I'm finally able to get them on the show. So I've asked Cynthia to come so she can help us separate the wheat from the chaff. So Yaga, if you go on their website, I think is it www.yaga.com .org. Yaga is spelled YIAGA Africa, right? Yeah. Okay, and they work all across Africa, but they've been focused on Nigeria, of course, as you all know what's going on. So Yaga has got a preliminary report on the election so far. And that's what I want us to talk about. And you will be able to ask Cynthia some questions. Caution, she is not here to take sides like me. She will merely answer questions from the report. So if you have simple questions, maybe about how BVAS works, how the IREV works, and all of that stuff, and things that she and I will discuss from their report, then you will be able to ask her. She's not going to tell you, somebody should have won, somebody cheated. That is not why I invited her. That's for, we have a president-elect, I must say that. His name is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Until that changes, we have to respect that. So you can watch me on YouTube, Nigeria Info 99.3, Facebook, Nigeria Info 99.3, Instagram, Nigeria Info FM Lagos, Twitter is Nigeria Info FM. Our studio line, which you can call on, is 0700 993 993 993. Do you know that's the only number I remember offhand? The female only line is 01465 719090, and the WhatsApp is 0809 597 5805. So I'm going to go straight off to Cynthia. Cynthia, tell me something. Forget what you do as a job. As a Nigerian, how are you feeling?
In Nigeria?
Yes, as a citizen. Forget your job. Yeah.
Yeah. I know yesterday I actually sent out a tweet and I said I woke up with a new sense of hope. And that's because as a Nigerian, I've lived in this country almost all my life. And I've followed through trends, and there are certain things that happened during the elections that I see them as what I call the signs of hope.
Okay.
So, which is why I woke up, because it's been a big period of deep reflection for me. First, there's the part around, and I think I wanted to mention that when you were talking around divisions and, a lot of us trying to let our position from that level, just appreciating our uniqueness in our different identities.
Yes, I call it the rainbow of us. It's the rainbow of us.
I'm not expecting people to, I don't believe in people denying your Igbo, your Yoruba, your ethnic,
absolutely,
your Idoma, Fulani,
I agree.
Whatever you are, those are important identities. However, these are identities that exist within Nigeria, and what makes us beautiful is that while we all appreciate our identities and we appreciate the uniqueness of it, we do not also want to silence other identities. So we appreciate the identities of others.
Absolutely.
The way we appreciate ours. And we respect that their identity is as important to them as ours is important to us. But beyond that, we see that that what makes us beautiful is these differences that we have in our identity. That is the diversity that makes us beautiful. I use the word rainbow. The reason rainbow is beautiful is because it's a mixture of several colors.
Absolutely.
If it was just one color, it wouldn't be beautiful. It's just like, see that stripe of yellow, then you move on. But the reason you see a rainbow, you stop and you look. You literally have to look each time you see a rainbow. It doesn't come up often, but once you see a rainbow, you have to stare because it's beautiful, the mixture of colors and how each stripe, each color makes the rainbow what it is. And that is what Nigeria is. And why I said the sense of hope was this election, I saw the people power speak in different states. Status quo was challenged, whether we like it or not. If you look at the results from the legislative elections, they were unlikely candidates who won the election. People are like, they were people who had power, who ordinarily would not win an election, but they won the election. In states as diverse as it was, whether we like it or not, you had votes that crossed beyond ethnic, religious lines.
100%, I agree.
And if you see the outcome, if the outcome for either party was not a resultant effect of one ethnic group voting or one religious voting. It was a mixture. We go to states as diverse as Nasarawa, and almost people understand that their state, Nasarawa, is diverse. The Federal Capital Territory is really diverse because it's also metropolitan. So you have a mixture of everyone, basically, living in this part of the country. And you see the kinds of votes, and you could tell that people were not voting they were voting based on their common,
absolutely.
The common recognition of their issues.
Yes, absolutely.
It doesn't about where you are from or who you are. Sort of. And that for me was what I saw as hope. That regardless of the challenges, we did see some positives, and we did see people who ordinarily, or rather we did see individuals or candidates who ordinarily didn't stand a chance. Either
emerge
or making statements with the votes that they got. And that is what elections ought to be. You have a fair space for anyone contending to is a fair chance that anyone contending can emerge. So that for me is one. People power did speak across board, but we spoke across lines, across those divisive lines that we always try to uphold. But whether we like it or not, we voted across those lines. We voted in one voice, regardless of those different identities. And so that for me is why I said, as a Nigerian, I just feel some level of hope. And I think if we can build upon some of the wins from these elections, there's a lot more we can achieve. And
excellent.
So that for me is how I feel. Do I have by disappointment? I do more with the process because I'm non-partisan.
I was going to come to that. Yes, you mentioned that in your report.
So as a Nigerian also, I just had higher, because when you watch elections in other parts of the world, there are some things you say, I wish this happens in my country. I think just process-wise. But I felt like a jilted lover with the Electoral Commission because I expected, I had this expectation, and then it's like, oh my God, it just broke my heart. Why? Or that is not silencing the fact that I'm also objective in the sense that while there were some things that did not work, but there were others that did work.
Okay, so let me
want to focus on
those things. It's a good segue into your report. So I'm just going to do a quick short of the intro so people know. So this is the 2023 presidential elections preliminary report, right? From YIAGA. Notice I said preliminary, people. So, right, in intro, you kind of said, YIAGA employed the PVT, which is the parallel vote tabulation, methodology. YIAGA actually put out 822 mobile observers in all 774 local government areas in all the 36 states and the FCT, correct? So you said this deployment strategy enabled YIAGA to provide timely and accurate information on the election day process, commencing from setup, voter accreditation, voting and counting, and to independently assess the official results of the presidential elections as announced by Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. This statement is based on report from 1,454 of 1,507 sampled polling units. Okay, so let's go. Let me talk about the ones you give a yes. So you said, okay, so INEC rather, you commended INEC for producing sensitive information locally for the early deployment, correct? And then it goes on to say, despite the action, the election process was fraught with widespread logistical challenges, resulting in the late arrival of polling officials and late opening of polling units across the country, particularly in the southeast and the south-south geopolitical zones. Voting was extended to the late hours in some polling units, affected by logistical hiccups. Yaga commends the voters who waited patiently to vote late into the night and to watch the counting of the ballots in the early hours of the morning. Let's start from there and we'll go backwards. What was the latest time that somebody left? I mean, you guys, I'm presuming you might have the latest time that people finished, or which polling unit finished latest. Do you have an idea when you say into early morning?
Yeah, not across board, but at least based on my observation, we had some locations where at 4:35 a.m. on that Sunday morning, that's when they were concluding the process.
Wow.
Concluding counting and what have you. In fact, there's this particular...
Did you say 4 a.m.?
Yes, sorry. And I remember particularly because I was on air on one of the elections discussion shows discussing the elections, and they were giving live updates from one of the polling units in Lube in Abuja. In the Federal Capital Abuja. As at 4, they were still counting, because I left the studio I think at 4:30 a.m. They were still counting, and then I got home. I tuned onto the TV to see if they are concluded, and so there is that. But we also, if you read further in our data,
I'm taking it step by step. Yeah.
So while some people concluded early hours, elections did not hold in some locations, so they held on Sunday.
Yes.
Some people who commenced their own voting on Sunday.
That's right.
Saturday.
Yeah. So you said that early sensitive materials locally, for producing sensitive materials locally, including the early deployment of the materials to the states. So it went out early.
Yeah. And that was one of the things when you observe elections, there are several indicators that inform INEC's preparedness for the election. And what we did see was, first, the Election Commission produced the materials in country, which we didn't have before. Yeah. So in 2019, 2015, some of the challenges were materials were produced outside the country, issues around flights not arriving, when INEC thought materials were on ground, materials were yet to get into the country. So this time around, we commend INEC for that innovation of saying, okay, we produce in country, plus we also want to start promoting, produce locally. That's also one of the things we want to promote in Nigeria. Yeah. So the materials are produced in country, and they were deployed earlier. So we had deployed long-term observers, 822 of them, across the local government to observe the pre-elections period. And by January, we could confirm that since non-sensitive materials were deployed to the local getting deployed to the local government offices. Sensitive materials include things like ballot paper, result sheets, and ballot, the BVAS. The BVAS, as at January, were deployed to the states because the BVAS was tested across the state capitals. So they were deployed to the INEC state offices, while the sensitive materials like the ballot papers and result sheets and the other forms were at the CBN in the state level. So towards the end of January, we're confirming that materials were already at the state level, which informed...
Cynthia, sorry to interrupt you. We have to go on a quick break. Sorry, I was enjoying that so much. We have to go on a quick break. We'll be right back.
All right.
Danfo Conversations will be right back. experience of salary earners and those business owners and entrepreneurs. Someone who has never had cause to set up a business of his, who has never had cause to source for funds, turn it around, pay salaries, pay back the loan, and still make profit cannot be expected to be hands-on when saddled with an economy the size of Lagos. Experience that hasn't curbed Lagos's traffic in 24 years of their reign. Experience that hasn't addressed Lagos's perennial flood. Experience that currently leaves us with over 2 million out-of-school children. The duo of Jandor and Funke have been investing in Lagos's economy for about 2 decades, running their personal businesses, employing people with track records of success. Lagos needs a breath of fresh air. Vote Dr. Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran as Governor of Lagos State. PDP, power to the people.
This is what goodness tastes like. Golden caramel, creamy buttermint, and rich coffee. There's a Cadbury candy for every moment.
Introducing Cadbury Caramel Candy, Cadbury Coffee, and your favorite Cadbury Buttermint candies. Now there's lots more to share and enjoy.
Oh yeah, there's a Cadbury candy for every moment.
Sincerely, I don't want to wait till I graduate from this school before I think of what to do with my life.
Exactly. I am going to seriously work on my music skills. Let me use my talent well, I beg.
I would like to be a radio presenter, but I don't know how to go about it.
But why is Timmy so quiet today?
Sorry, ladies. I'm taking this interesting course on how to become a professional scriptwriter. You too can also learn how to become a radio presenter on Wazobia Academy.
Wazobia Academy?
Yes, Wazobia Academy provides accessible and affordable online training in filmmaking, music business, fashion, radio hosting, and lots more. You also stand a chance to be selected for internship in leading production companies, radio stations, music, and fashion studios for hands-on experience. It's easy. Simply log on to www.wazobiaacademy.com or call 0908-826-5038 for more details.
Wazobia Academy. Learn.
So the center thing out on time. It was spent on time. The beavers had gone out on time. So what happened with all the lateness? I mean, this is my question. Why must we apply Nigerian time to everything we do?
This is a big question we've all been asking, especially because a lot of us believe, especially for civil society partners, we believe that this election will be one where we would record opening. And that's because, like I said, materials were in the states. So normally what is required is materials are moved from the state capital to the local government offices. And then from the local government offices, they are moved with the personnel to the registration area centers. We call them racks. That's where the officials, that personnel, the materials and security, they camp on the eve of the election so that on the morning of the elections, they could get to their locations on time because racks are closer to polling units. One of the challenges we had envisaged earlier was the lack of Naira.
Yes.
That's why when the commission reached out to CBN and the week of the election, the INEC chair in his briefing confirmed that the CBN had provided them, had assured them they would provide them with monies.
Yes.
And they would have, that access to monies for each to manage this at the state level. So that also helps ease the fear. We said, okay, yes, if INEC receives the money, it means things like payments of transport workers that they'll be working with, transporters they'll be working with, vendors they'll be working with at those local level will be taken care of. Because the transport workers, the transporters INEC was engaging had said they were not receiving transfers. They wanted their monies paid before they move. And so if the monies were sent to INEC at the national, I want to believe INEC and national sent to the states. The question is what happened from the state level, the state capital to the local government. Because on elections day, part of what we had received were reports that some locations, transporters refused to move because they were not paid. And they said until they are paid before they move.
How would they get that cash though? So if INEC have got it, remember there's a cash trap, right? There's a cash crunch. How was it that INEC got the money and they're supposed to send it to the state and then the state is supposed to distribute it to the locals?
Yes, in cash.
Exactly.
That was what
could that have been the issue?
From CBN in cash.
So literally, does that mean that somebody literally has to travel with cash? Can you hear me? Hello?
INEC wasn't asking for transfer because INEC had monies. INEC needed cash, and they come. CBN would give them the cash. So INEC receives the cash at the national, sends cash to the states. It's either it's sent to the state or the state goes to CBN. There's a modality to get to the state. So one thing we know was that they received. INEC was provided with the cash to deal with some of those transactions. Some transactions were electronic.
Right.
For those that were required to be cash transactions, the monies were provided, at least based on, I'm referring to the briefing
that you were given,
chairman, on the week of the election.
Right. So this was the thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've seen on some analysis, and I literally, I'm obsessed with news and I watch all the election analysis, is that INEC received that money late. Was that correct?
Well, I can't say at the time.
Okay.
But yeah, because this INEC had informed the week of the election. There was a briefing on Thursday. That was when they gave updates that the monies had been received, and they were, in fact, the word of the chair was, we were assured and we're ready for the election.
Right.
Have been provided.
Right.
So
that was on Thursday.
Mention around it is late or not, and why a lot of us did not raise concerns was because we knew that in the value chain of deployment, the only part remaining was movement to local government from state capitals and local government to RACs.
Right.
So one of the, if it were still centralized or the things were to come in from outside Nigeria, a lot of us would have been worried. But if you calculate, yes, some states have large land mass that you need to start deploying with at least 72 hours. But on the 48 hours to the elections, I remember we tracked in the states, we did receive reports. Some states started moving their materials from the state capital, the CBN, to the LGAs on Thursday. I need to confirm the dates actually. On Wednesday, because we had our press statement on Thursday. And in that press statement, we had highlighted states where materials have started moving on Wednesday. That was 72 hours. And so, and then on Thursday, a lot more states commenced deployment from state capitals to local government areas. You get?
Yes,
so
I do.
For all indication, because we have, like I mentioned, our state coordinators were asked to go to the CBN to confirm deployments from Wednesday. In fact, one of the states was at Jigawa also, as early as 2:30 a.m. on Thursday morning. Our coordinator was sending in reports. We're still at the CBN. They are sorting them out. They have to sort LGA by LGA, and they will be moving early hours of the morning.
Okay.
And we understood that because states in the north, they have larger.
Of course, distances.
Travel.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, here's the thing. One of the calls because I was on air on election day and the day after, one of the complaints we had was about polling units, and I know you put it in here. It's in your report. The creation of additional polling units was a positive and long needed step by INEC. However, the implementation failed to address overcrowding. As a result, there were polling units with fewer than 10 registered voters and others with over 10,000. My good God. Because we all got, there was this whole thing about send an SMS to know where your polling units are. No polling unit is supposed to have more than 500 registered people and all that malarkey. What happened?
Well, it's like this. It's just simply poor implementation. And that's because, I say this advisedly, polling units were created in 2021. The additional polling units.
Right.
2021, that was when INEC concluded it as at the first quarter of 2021, because we had tracked that process. And part of the recommendation, not just from Yaga Africa, from other civil society, is for INEC to commence the reallocation of voters to the new polling units. Because one of the reasons for new polling units is to decongest polling units.
Absolutely.
The other reason was to bring polling units closer to the people. So it's a question around access. And so we had 2021, 2022. And so the question was, if we created additional polling units to the congest polling units, why did we have some polling units with really high number of registered voters?
Yes.
Have said, okay, they would work with 750 at the most. But we still had polling units with, like our report says, 10,000, somewhere 3,000. And the question, so it seemed like it was about implementation, so it was not just creating. And on elections day, what we then observed were we had people who also spent time trying to locate their new polling unit. So they went to where they had voted before. Yes, we did a lot of publicity, but not everyone,
of course,
get the information. And a lot of advocacy went to INEC to have the number and contacts of people on the register. Because when you register, you put down your contact. If you have no email, you have a phone number. And the advocacy at the time was send text messages to people.
Yeah,
I know there was an attempt to do that, because I would not lie. I received a text message from INEC that I'd be relocated to a new polling unit.
Right.
And I was impressed. However, when we did other sample, I realized it was because when I received it, I felt, oh, finally they took this recommendation. A lot of people received these messages. But maybe I don't know if you received the message, Ireti, because when
Can I say something, Cynthia?
Yes.
Shall I just tell you what they did to me since you asked me?
Yeah, what?
INEC didn't find my voter's card.
Oh,
and I've been voting since 2011, and I still have my TVC. I'm one of those people who they collect the not found list. I must be there somewhere. So I didn't even get a text message from them.
okay.
Nothing. But I was going to ask you though, since we're on polling units, I think our people need to know. Well, certainly my listeners need to know, how does INEC create a polling unit? Because we had polling units in palaces, it was said. How do they create a polling unit? Do they go there and do due diligence and do a site survey and think, okay, under this tree, on the corner of, Sisi Oge's house, next in between Zainab's house, that's the safest place. How? Because I've seen some polling units that's just bizarre addresses. How do you know? Can you tell us how they create a polling unit?
Well, so the first principle in Nigeria is that polling units must be in public places. So it's not supposed to be around palaces, because palace is not a public place; it's a private, this institution of traditional history. It's supposed to be in public places that is easily accessible to every section of the society, which is why the preference is for no private homes. Before, there was a time in Nigeria where polling units were in front of people's homes or in people's homes, and that affected even how others would. So that was the first thing, public places. In fact, the idea of even the creation is also polling units that were wrongly located at private homes.
Yeah.
Or private spaces, we moved to public spaces. So there's that part. The other part is they also have the way they do their geographical location. And the idea is they work with the register of voters because they want to identify locations that are closer to people within a specific area. So there are several principles that guide that. And in the process of setting up those polling units, they also want to look at locations that are a bit central in communities, just so that people can easily access those communities. There are locations where we expected that there will be low number of voters or few numbers of voters because those are communities that are not populated. But what matters is that they should have a polling unit, so they don't have to travel far.
Okay.
Because the idea of getting polling units is giving people access to the polling, especially in Nigeria where there is restriction of movement. But for some countries, there's no restriction.
Of course.
So you can drive to your location on elections day. But for Nigerian context,
access
to location is key because people don't travel far, can't drive on elections day.
Absolutely.
And the idea of relocating voters was to use the contact addresses on voter register to inform how you relocate them. So your residential address should inform the polling unit to be placed or you'll be reallocated to.
Many people didn't get moved. I had people who had to go and sleep the night in hotels, etc., etc. Look, my listeners, I know you're thinking, why hasn't she opened the line? Because there's so much that I want us to really learn from Cynthia. You should send WhatsApp messages 0809. Send me your questions 5975805, and I promise I will try to open up the line before this show is over. But 0809 597 5805, or put your questions on Twitter, Nigeria Info FM on Twitter. Okay, now there's so much I want to ask you. The last thing before we go into sort of the stats is training. This was the other thing. People complained that the ad hoc staff didn't seem to know how to use the beavers. Some seem to think it was a selfie stick of some sort, an exaggerated, iPhone that you could just use it to take your makeup and whatever. What is it? What was it? And so the first thing is training. The second thing is ad hoc. Why can't INEC, or is it possible, or if it's even not if it's out of your remit, please tell me, why can't INEC have, say, 50% of these people who are permanent staff and then 50% ad hoc, so you can then do one-to-one at polling units? Do you understand? Rather than just every 4 years, it's new people, new training, lack of familiarity, etc., etc.
Yeah, I mean, first, I think it's also important. Of course, I just want to commend the core members who committed to the work, because we know that a lot of them were dealing with really different levels of hardship to just serve as ad hoc officials.
Yeah.
However, you asked an important question, and we've actually had several recommendations on this. One is important. INEC has to build a pool of poll officials.
Absolutely.
Because we've conducted elections. This is the 7th general elections we'll be conducting post 1999 and come to democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And there is that need to start building a database of poll officials, people that, especially those who performed exceptionally well.
Yes.
So what you're doing for every election is either adding to the number, so you review existing and then you add to the number. That way, we create expertise around elections administration.
Yeah.
And you know that there's always going to be a pool of people who serve as poll workers or poll officials.
Yeah.
I said this, I remember we observed the elections in the U.S. in 2016, and I met some of the poll officials, some of them elderly people, like retirees, some of them young people, and I was like, in Nigeria, it's mostly ad hoc staff we use, and I asked them, and they said, no, they have people who volunteer for this for every election, so they have like a database.
Absolutely.
And all they do is to check,
call on the same people.
Update. That's one part. The other part is training of officials. Mostly it's inadequate.
Mm-hmm.
So for elections are serious business, meaning that the officials we train must be trained and retrained.
Yeah.
1-2 days training is not sufficient for officials to learn. And I'll use the example of Yaga Africa's modality. We recruit and deploy large observers. So beyond the 822, our main observers, there are 3,014, and these 3,014 observers are stationary at their polling units across the 774 local governments. But we have a cohort of trainers. We've been building this cohort since 2016.
Wow.
This is 2017.
Yeah.
So what we do, these people go through trainings. They are our trainers. They go through trainings every time we have off-cycle elections. Sometimes you don't retain, but we have people who joined us many years ago, but they are no longer present. So we just update. But we train them on different things around the election. So when we have elections at the state level, these are the ones that we deploy to train the observers. And some observers get to serve different times at different elections. That way you have some level of expertise maintained, because we know that not every election you want to recruit new trainers. So there's that is something INEC needs to learn, actually.
Mm-hmm.
One, you have to start building a database of people who have shown an outstanding professionalism when it came to administering the election.
Yeah.
But the other part is the training cannot be one-off. For training like election administration, if in the Yaga Africa, when we train, we don't train in a class of more than 30 people at once. In fact, I would prefer to train 25.
Yes, of course.
But we believe that the smaller the number,
the better.
The better the retention.
Absolutely.
And we can interact more.
Absolutely.
And have everyone test what they are supposed to do.
We still have so many questions, gosh, and I'm getting questions for you already.
Okay, so which is what we need to start seeing now, that we don't train people. You don't train in one large class and expect them to
just do jaga quickly. Yes.
You need smaller classes,
yes,
more trainers, and you don't train once. As you train, there's practicals done.
Absolutely.
Practicals done. But if practicals are not done,
right,
you won't get, and then you have simulation exercises before election.
Absolutely. So here's the other thing. Right, the other thing you mentioned, which of course a lot of my callers called about, or listeners called about during the election, is deployment of security personnel. So in your report, it says you observed 88% of polling units. In 84% of the polling units, there were professional and non-partisan security.
Yes.
But given what we heard about the violence.
Yeah, so if you notice, it said in 80. So if you turn it the other way, you see you'd have almost 50-something%.
Yeah.
Who were not professional.
Yeah.
And who were not present. Because what we said was they were observing 88% of our sample polling units.
That's right.
And it also shows that if you look at the reports, it's not every state and not every polling unit experience violence.
No, not everyone. That's it. I was just going to come there now.
Yes.
So you said
there were locations that had more incidents of violence than others, while there were locations that did not have any incident of violence. That's on one side.
On one side.
But the other part is also the fact that there were locations that we believe the deployment was insufficient, or there was no. So our data already showed there were locations where there were no personnel, security personnel deployed. And when we were meant to have deployment at 100%, not 88%.
Not 88%, exactly.
Because before the election, the IGP had reeled out this plan and said they would have at least 2 security personnel to a polling unit at the least, with special teams that would be moving around, because the ones at the polling units are not to be armed. The ones that move around the streets are those who can bear arms.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we were expecting to have 100%. And for professionalism and non-partisanship, we're expecting to have 100%, not 84%. But if at 84%, it means about 26%, if I'm not mistaken, were not professional and were partisan.
Excellent.
And that affects the integrity of the work if they exhibit any level of unprofessionalism or partisanship. Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing. I've got a question which I think is actually, a good segue. We had a lot of issues about BVAS not being uploaded, the results couldn't be uploaded, network, whatever the case. Now, did INEC work with the NCC? Because I can tell you, I spoke to some of the sort of agents in other states and stuff, and they said they opened the BVAS and some didn't even have SIM cards in them.
Well, so now this question is more a question we all need INEC to respond to.
Excellent.
And this is why, because before we had several series of meetings with the Electoral Commission, and I want this wedding was tracking whatever the chair speaks on or the statements we're following through. The plan, as we understand from INEC, every BVAS had their SIMs. In fact, the way the SIMs were designed is that, I'm not sure the technical term, but I'll just remind laywoman knowledge about it. The SIM cards were designed, it was a special SIM card BVAS, that it would connect to any network that has strong coverage in a location.
Right,
so those
right.
special SIM card, let's say I get to this location and Glo, for instance, or Airtel or Nine Mobile, MTN, whichever is stronger is what it connects to.
Right.
The idea for was that because they did this was a partnership with the telecoms, and there's this other company they call, I can't remember what it's called. That was the plan. The plan was, if we have this unique SIM card, we limit the dangers of people. We deployed one network, one SIM, one location, and then there was no network for that SIM in that location.
Correct. So
this being said, the expectation is every BVAS has a SIM card, and it only needs connectivity to start to get activated. For accreditation, it doesn't need internet connection for accreditation. The only part it needs connectivity again is when it's time to upload the results on the portal.
Excellent. Now, so and that didn't happen It just didn't happen.
It just didn't happen. We still don't know why.
Okay.
But the statements from the Electoral Commission had talked more around the portal. Something about the portal was used for obstacle elections and was not scaled or so. I'm trying to
Yeah, they said the IRF portal had not been scaled up.
for the national.
Yes, for the national, correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Which we didn't think was.
Nobody would have expected that. Absolutely. That kind of statement. It was quite bizarre, if you ask me. Right, I've only got 30 minutes. Please, people, send your questions in, because honestly, I'm not letting Cynthia go. I know that you're all learning from this because the questions are rolling in. By the way, that NCC thing was from Esther. Thank you, Esther, for that. I have a good afternoon, Sister Gibb. Please ask your guests why the INEC official on the election were not giving proper care, feeding wise, because in my polling unit in K2, I personally had to feed them over 6 people from 2 different polling units, despite the money and connected for the process. That's from Ayola from K2. Tell me something, Cynthia. The money that INEC, so are the ad hoc staff giving money in advance? I'm presuming they're paid in advance, correct?
That is the presumption.
Right. So are they're supposed to feed from that money, correct?
Yeah, they're
right.
supposed to feed from it.
Okay, so what we need to know, what's up? We have to go on a quick break. Okay, oh gosh. Cynthia, don't you dare go away, otherwise I've got you under arrest. Please don't go away, we'll be right back.
Okay, thank you.
Danfo Conversations will be right back.
More talk, news and sports after this.
There is a huge difference between the relative experience of salary earners and those of business owners and entrepreneurs. Someone who has never had cause to set up a business of his, who has never had cause to source for funds, turn it around, pay salaries, pay back the loan, and still make profit cannot be expected to be hands-on when saddled with an economy the size of Lagos. Experience that hasn't curbed Lagos's traffic in 24 years of their reign. Experience that hasn't addressed Lagos's perennial flood. Experience that currently leaves us with over 2 million out-of-school children. The duo of Jando and Funke have been investing in Lagos's economy for about 2 decades, running their personal businesses, employing people with track records of success. Lagos needs a breath of fresh air. Vote Dr. Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran Jandor as Governor of Lagos State. PDP! Power to the people!
This is what goodness tastes like. Golden caramel, creamy buttermint, and rich coffee. There's a Cadbury candy for every moment.
Introducing Cadbury Caramel Candy, Cadbury Coffee, and your favorite Cadbury Buttermint candies. Now there's lots more to share and enjoy.
Oh yeah, there's a Cadbury candy for every moment.
Sincerely, I don't want to wait till I graduate from this school before I think of what to do with my life.
Exactly. I am going to seriously work on my music skills. Let me use my talent to get big.
I would like to be a radio presenter, but I don't know how to go about it.
But why is Simi so quiet today?
Sorry, ladies. I'm taking this interesting course on how to become a professional scriptwriter. You too can also learn how to become a radio presenter on Wazobia Academy.
Wazobia Academy?
Yes, Wazobia Academy provides accessible and affordable online training in filmmaking, music business, fashion, radio hosting, and lots more. You also stand a chance to be selected for internship in leading production companies, radio stations, music, and fashion studios for hands-on experience. It's easy. Simply log on to www.wazobiaacademy.com
personal businesses employing peoples with track records of success. Lagos needs a breath of fresh air. Vote Dr. Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran Jandor as Governor of Lagos State. PDP! Power to the people!
We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We are back.
We're back on 99.3 Nigeria Info. Welcome back to Danfo Conversations, right here on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Okay, so we have 2 minutes before the news. Cynthia, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I'm just going to read out questions, which you'll be able to answer immediately after the news. Okay, so I have here somebody that wants to remain anonymous. Why? I'm not going to come after you, not this weekend. Anyway, maybe next weekend. I'm normally joking. Anyway, good afternoon, Cecile Gay, and your guest. I remain anonymous. If I heard you correctly, your guest said that polling unit should not be inside private house. But why was mine in the Lekki axis the polling? Well, the polling in Ikate is in the palace. Well, I did ask that, and as you heard Cynthia said, it's not supposed to be in the palace. So there you go. We don't know why. All of that will come out in the investigative report. I remember the final report. Cecile, okay, thanks for having Cynthia of Yaga on the bus today. Yeah, jiggy jaga, jiggy jaga. Somebody remembers we're a bus. Cynthia, you're part of the jiggy jaga. We move fast.
Okay.
My question is on pre-election. What's the organization's view and possible reports on pre-election intimidation, violence, and threats, which is a precursor to what we witnessed, bigger proportion on election day? When people are not punished for pre-election violence, it gives the perpetrators the leverage to take it out on election day, making good steps, as she said, in the whole process, but 3 good gains overshadowed by 1 bad step keeps us back to where we are. No progress and loss of trust. That's Chris listening in Accra. Messages are coming in. Have I still got time before we're going on news? Okay, Cynthia, stay right there. Don't breathe. Don't go away. You're under arrest on the bus. Keep your seatbelt tight. My girl Yvonne is coming with the news.
It's 2 o'clock. The headline news on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
On the news headlines this hour, Supreme Court okays Naira notes to remain legal tender until December 31st, 2023. Many dead as explosion rocks Rivers State, while INEC says March 11th state elections will take place as scheduled. INEC promises to follow all procedures for governorship and state assembly elections. Governor Sanwo-Olu assures Lagosians that their views will be accommodated, while Labour Party and PDP head to court, say election largely flawed. APC says it is ready to meet Labour Party, PDP in court. President-elect Bola Tinubu to hit the ground running. World Health Organization says 1.5 billion people globally live with hearing loss. And Ukraine tells some residents to leave Kupiansk as Russia seeks to retake the city it left last year. Those are the headlines. It's back to the Danfo Conversation with Ireti Bakare-Yusuf. I'm Ivan Okhaife. This is 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Welcome back to Danfo Conversations, right here on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Okay, we're back. We're in the last 25, 28 minutes. I was just saying to the girls, we need a vroom vroom sound, you know. I know we go jiggy jaga in. So, right. So, Cynthia, I'm going to throw all the questions at you because if I don't open the line, they will have me arrested when I leave this place. Sure, you understand. You can see they don't mess. So, I've given you that question from Chris in Accra. What's the other thing I have here? Good afternoon. Greetings, Richard Admin from Asaba. Why can't Nigerian journalists stop asking? I've got Cynthia. She's not a journalist. What are you talking about? Anthony, what are the plans for security considering what happened last week in some polling units and the uploading of results from the polling unit immediately after the counting? Okay, and then the last one I'm going to throw at you is, hi, Ireti. Hello. That's from Ina. Hello. why Mahmoud should still be holding that. Well, Cynthia can't decide on that. Why Mahmoud should still be holding that post till now, down to conducting these forthcoming elections. It will be serious for Nigeria to disengage him for lack of integrity and breach of the law to announcing a fraudulent and manipulated result. He should resign or he should be sacked ASAP. Allowing to conduct another election is seen as unserious on our path. That's from Ina from Oshodi. Well, that's not for me and Cynthia to say, you know what, we're not his bosses. Well, we are, but we're not, if you know what I mean. Good afternoon, Cecile Gay. Your guest, you've already sent that. Oh, hold on, quickly. I can't watch videos. I haven't got time to watch videos. What have we got here? Good afternoon, Cecile Gay. Did you notice that the morning after the result, everywhere was silent like that of a graveyard? This is to tell you that when the righteous rules, the people rejoice. But then the wicked rule, oh, come on. You know, we're not going to do that. So I'm going to open up your line. We're not going to talk righteous or wicked. I've told you what this is about. I have Yaga. Do you have valid questions? Do you want to know a little bit more? But before I go to the lines. I need to ask you, right? Cynthia, one of the big deals that I've taken out of this is voter apathy, right?
Yeah.
There were only 27% of those who collected the voters' cards that voted. Yet we had 11 point something more million people register. What do you think informed that apathy? That's number one. Number two, because I don't want us to run out of time before I ask this. If any of my listeners would want to volunteer for YIAGA or for INEC, what would you advise them? You've got 3 minutes to answer those two questions so I can open up the lines.
Well, for voter apathy, I think at this point it's beyond what we call voter. Maybe it's just voter resistance at this point because of how we've seen decline. And I'll say this on two keynotes. We had a post-election survey in 2019, after 2019 elections, but says voter turnout, so a survey of voter turnout. Part of our findings indicated that some voters, their responses were, we don't vote because we don't think it counts.
Yeah.
So we don't trust the process. That's one. The other part was, we don't vote because after we vote, we don't see leadership. We don't feel the qualities, or rather, we don't feel the value of leadership. So
right.
What happens after that? And so increasingly, we're seeing people who are questioning why spend so much time to vote? The leaders are not meeting the needs of the people. Or why spend time to vote if I would not be allowed to vote, or my vote will be destroyed by some thugs, or votes don't count, or I come to vote and I'm unable to vote because there's just no one present for me to vote. So these are, for me, some of the reasons why you have low turnout. And but my other way of engaging this, tell Nigerians that staying away from the polls does not change the outcome in the way we want it to be, in the sense that protest vote means actually coming out to vote. The only way we change outcome is to increase turnout. Yeah. And not voting means elections be decided by only those who voted. So at the end, we're still doing ourselves. But the broader question is, there are fundamental challenges that need to be addressed to inspire confidence, to ensure that every voter who came out to vote gets to vote, and that we limit economic hardship before the elections. Because this was one election where people couldn't travel, so they didn't have naira. Before election week, people are traveling back to where they registered to vote. But this time around, very few people could travel because they didn't have the resources or the flow to travel. The other question you asked was on, you said 3 minutes, so I'm trying to rush through.
Okay, yeah, go on.
The volunteer part.
Yes.
So I can't speak for INEC, because I know for INEC, they usually open up this portal for ad hoc officials before election. That's over. I'm sure that process is closed down for now. For Yaga Africa, we have different communities that we work with. We have the Voter Education Volunteer Squad. But what we usually tell people, for those interested, they can reach out to us on social media, YIAGA, on Twitter, on Facebook. You can send a message or tweet at us. Also on our website, we'll be providing a link so we can get and just so that we have direct conversation with all volunteers.
Excellent.
So just hit us up on social media, we can have the conversation from there.
Okay, brilliant. Right, I'm going to open up the lines. Sorry, go on.
The WhatsApp questions, you asked about private place.
Yes, correct.
Police is here it's important to document that because one of the conversations with INEC before now was polling units must be in public spaces.
Correct.
That was the principle guiding a lot of. So polling units were to be relocated to public spaces. I'm not sure why we still have in some private places in Lagos, but I'm taking note of that.
Excellent.
The other part around pre-elections violence, yes, we did track pre-elections violence. If you go on watchingthevote.org, that's our election specific, you see all our reports. And part of that is we highlighted locations where we felt there would be likelihood of violence. We also released an elections manipulation risk index, which highlighted locations where we felt there may be voter suppression.
Right.
And we shared this with partners, including the Electoral Commission and security agencies. Our role as CSOs is to highlight where the issues are, and take decisions to act. It's unfortunate that deployment was not done to address these challenges, and which is why we called on the security agencies. You deploy not just for deploying sake, you deploy to protect lives and property, to secure the electoral process. And locations that have high rates of violence are where you need better concentration and not, leaving those places vulnerable.
All right. Let me answer calls. I've got a couple more questions, but I want to answer calls. Let's quickly, and hopefully we won't be cutting Cynthia off. Hello?
Hello?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Is it okay?
Yes, good afternoon, Koboko. You've got 1 minute.
Okay. I want to ask you and your guest question. Thanks to your guest. Why didn't INEC observe and check well the complaints before they tell opposition to go to court? Second question, why was Gramo saying that the dealer wants to incite the youth? Mommy, that's
not what my guest is here for. Koboko, I don't know. I hope you would listen to me.
Who is afraid? Who is afraid?
I have no idea. That's not what my guest. I can't have you using up the time.
My money. That's why. Is it not a war? Is it not a war already?
Koboko.
Thank you, ma. Thank you.
Go and face the wall. Bye. Yeah. Hello, Cynthia. That is my regular caller, Koboko. You have no answers to give him. Hello? Hello, come closer to your phone, please.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes, it's Sisioge. Yes. You're on the Danfo bus.
I want to greet Antimba Malu. Welcome.
Yes, Cynthia. Her name is Cynthia. Yeah.
Okay, Cynthia. I want to ask 3 questions quickly. Number 1, why was not this impact they are using not provided for most of these adult staff? Because all the areas, especially in Songo, where I try to go around to check, most of them were complaining of no impact. In fact, we're trying to provide for them, but people started saying no, that they don't want a different color entirely. That is number 1. Then number 2, there was...
Sorry, what did you say? No intact?
No intact, yes.
What's intact?
Impact. Pad. The pad they use in thumb printing.
Oh, okay, no pad. Okay, the ink pad. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Then number 2, they didn't no canopy, nothing was provided. The community has to provide all these things for the adult staff. Then number 3, we discovered that in my area in the community, the whole area in the community where Isongo has this, there was no police presence at all. So it was we that are now beginning to be police for ourselves, trying to organize ourselves, and which is not palatable at all. In assuming those stores come around, what will happen? They will carry the ballot boxes and maybe do something else.
Okay.
Because we all deal with vigilant, we really stood to make sure that our votes were counted. And when they were counted, they couldn't transmit the results. And INEC, the chairman promised us, the chairman Mahmoud promised us that our vote will be counted.
I agree, sir. I need to, because we have so many calls and so many questions, and we don't have much time left on the bus. Please, you've asked your questions. Stay listening so Cynthia can answer. God bless you too, my brother. And excellent work. Well done. Hello?
Hello.
You have a minute. You've got to move away from that noise. Go ahead. What's your name, please?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. What's your name?
It is very obvious that we have been captured. We have not been defeated.
No. I don't want to talk about that. I want questions.
Let me talk. Mahmoud has spent over 300 billion naira to produce this. and the newly elected president has taken over. No problem. One day, all of us will go into.
But that is not a question for my guest. You are making a comment.
Yes. That is all I have. We are not defeated, but we have been conquered. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you. We seem to be having issues with the phone lines. I'm gonna go. Cynthia, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right, you can hear that beep 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 beep. Yeah. Okay, so I had a question here. Right, I have 4 questions. Is there a provision for INEC to continue counting and declaration of results without BVAS? It's BVAS, people, not BIVAS. Right, that's number 1. Number 2, have you and other reputable organizations gotten checked and analyzed the BVAS machine to see if it can be manipulated or breached? What plans does YAGA have to start forming an overnight body that can check INEC for check and balances? Please, does YAGA have plans to not only ask INEC to relocate polling units or to suggest actual locations for that relocation? I see what I mean. If you guys can actually advise and get them where to relocate and stuff. We seem to be having problems with the calls. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right, are you able to answer?
Yes, I can respond to the question.
Go ahead.
We want to ask around the BVAS. So to provide clarity on the BVAS has 2 functions. The major function is to accredit voters. In fact, in the scheme of things, it has 3 functions because that is what was used to register voters during the registration process. For it's used to register voters. However, for election day, it's used to accredit voters, and that's one part: biometric accreditation and PVC verification. And then it is used to upload results on the results portal. So it's important to separate these 2 parts. The first part, around accreditation, works at least based on our data. The BVAS function was deployed and used in 99% of our sample polling units. We are not sure what happened in the other 1%, but if you put that in the larger scheme of things, that's still a significant number which INEC needs to provide updates on or clarification on. But in the 99%, it was deployed and used for accreditation. Now, the part where a lot of people have raised the concern is the part around uploading the results. Because after voting and results recorded on the result form, the BVAS is to be used to take a picture of the result form, ECHA, which is the polling unit result form, and upload on the INEX result portal. Now, that was where the challenge was. Now, what we did observe was that some polling officials did take a picture of the result form at the polling. If you look at our report, I'm sure you also saw that around the use of the BVAS to take a picture of the report, the results. There was the polling officials did that in some locations. However, the challenge now is on the part of uploading on the portal, because for those of us who are not at the polling units, we wait on the portal to get the result, and which is where INEC is yet to provide clarification on what happened, because the guideline provides that the picture is taken of the result, uploaded on the result portal, and Nigerians, wherever you are, you can download your polling unit result.
Absolutely.
That part was not done. Even as at 1st of March, only about 70% of the polling unit results were on the portal. Now, the question someone asked around was INEC not to suspend. I can't speak on that.
Of course not.
So that is left for INEC to decide. What we had.
Oh, have I lost you? Hello? Oh dear. Hello? No, we're calling her. Hello? Oh, we've just lost the line. We'll be calling you back in a moment. Cynthia. I don't know what's happened with the line. Gremlins always come when the conversation is very good, you see. That's what happens. They say they try and keep education away from you. It's the gremlins. They do that. They try and do that, and we won't let them. We're trying to get Cynthia back. My darling Zainab is under pressure trying to get Cynthia back because we don't have much time. She knows she's going to have to throw me out any moment soon. Cynthia, are you there? Have we got you back? Are you there? Are you there, Cynthia? No.
Yes.
Hello, are you there? Yeah,
Yes, I'm
we
back.
got you back.
Yeah,
Sorry about. Yeah, no, it was from our side. The gremlins.
Okay. Yeah. So the part was around the upload. So the question was for where we observed, we observed that in 69% of our polling units, the presiding officer attempted to transmit the results.
Mm-hmm.
So if at all there were no results on the portal, at least we're expected to see about 69% of the polling units results on election day and the following morning, so Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. Okay.
But what happened? We didn't have that. But like I said, our call to INEC was to provide. We've called on INEC because all we can do as civil society, we are not the state, we are not government.
Exactly.
To make demands.
Yeah.
And our demand to the Electoral Commission is to provide clarification on how it interpreted its guideline on results transmission and collation.
Sorry, stop. Yes. Let me just ask you to say that again slowly, because that's so important.
Call on INEC. Our call to INEC was to provide clarification on how it interpreted its guideline on results transmission and collation.
Okay.
Because the guideline provides that results are uploaded from the polling units on the result portal. So why didn't that happen, and why did it take over 24 hours for that to even commence?
Okay.
While results are already collated at the different levels.
Okay.
The other part was for collation. It is required that the results transmitted electronically and the manually transferred one were to be compared at collation.
Okay.
So was that done? And what happened in that process? So these are and it's INEC's guideline and manual, and drawing light from the Electoral Act. So this was not made up.
Yeah.
And so that was our conversation around that. I wanted to provide that because someone said beavers. I wanted to
be clear.
Break it down. Be clear.
Excellent.
That's where we have major challenge. Major challenge was the results part.
Yeah.
But
Thank
for
you.
accreditation, we saw that work. There's another question that I received around ink pad.
Yes.
We were supposed to have ink pad at the polling units. But one of the things we did also observe were some polling units had insufficient elections material, which honestly is for the Electoral Commission to respond to, because funds were provided, like I said, materials were produced in country. And one of us was to conduct an internal audit and investigation.
Right, I have to rush you now. We're about to finish. So you've got so many questions. You're going to get a minute on each one. Quick one is, this is a commendation. I wish to commend the YAGA Africa body members, that most of their members that I've listened to are very articulate and are orators, just like Cynthia you're hosting right now. Kudos to YAGA. So you see, you can pay me and bribe me later. Okay. Please, my question is, how will the public have trust in INEC after what happened on Saturday? Because I don't see how I'm going to vote on March 11 with this rubbish going on. Okay. Exactly. You heard that. That's your answer. Please vote. What was the yardstick for security deployment? You don't have to capital letters. You're shouting at me, but it's okay. I get it. Sisi, okay. Kindly ask your guests if they also observed that even after INEC has announced the winner of the poll, you belong on my Danfo for true.
Yes, on
all of that. Hold on, what's the last one? Because I think that will be the last one. I believe, right. Okay, good afternoon. I believe that the one problem with the electoral process is the lack of data analysis at INEC. My question to YAGA is, what are they doing about using data to solve all the problems from logistics to results processing and presentation? I believe in Nigeria. Well, I believe Nigeria will understand estimates. Oh, we underestimate our population a lot. That's Temitayo in Germany. Right. Over to you. You've got 5 minutes for those questions.
First, to the 92 voters who are asking if they should vote on March 11th, anyone listening, please vote.
Yeah.
I beg of you. We should still vote. Why? Because we can't give up on our system.
Absolutely.
Our democracy, it can only be sustained by the people, and only the people can get the system to work. And I give a simple example. You hear different countries complaining about their democracy, even the U.S., but you don't see their people saying, oh, we don't participate or we're leaving the U.S. They still stay there and protest and fight and still go and vote. And that is a lesson for democracies, that we need to remain committed to the project, building systems and processes that outlive individuals. So please vote. Your vote still matters and it still counts.
Okay, second question.
Your question around some results coming in, like I said, that was one of our recommendations to the Electoral Commission. And we need that comprehensive audit that shows provide information to the people, we need to get the investigation, what really happened with the IRF and what is INEC's plan. Because results are announced, but results were still going up on the portal and all and what have you. So at this point, there is no clarity on what the decision of the Electoral Commission is, and they need to speak to the people.
Yeah.
But more importantly, they also need to conduct that investigation to find out what happened. People need to be sanctioned, people need to be held accountable, and most importantly, INEC needs to be held accountable for the lapses that we saw. And the other question around, what was the other question? Oh, data.
Yes, data.
Yes, we do provide. In fact, every election we submit our report to the Electoral Commission. And the other Africa, we're data driven. So that is why I can give you percentages of opening across board and the regions that had late opening. And sadly, we've had almost a consistent trend in the past 3 electoral cycles. So it's either INEC is not reading these reports or not working with this information that we provide for them. But beyond that, internally, it is one thing we must achieve post this election. There's a new level of reforms that target at reforming INEC at this point. It's beyond, we've gotten a new law, but we can see it's not about just the law.
Absolutely.
To reform the institution. So that's all I can say on that. The one on security.
Yes, you've answered it before. Yeah.
The IGP, security, the police provides that leadership on deployment of security agencies. So there's a joint deployment with other sister security agencies. And a lot of society groups, we share all our security threat assessment reports with the police. The police also conduct its intelligence. And it is worrisome that till now, we still have locations that there were no deployments, even after we were told that every police will have at least two personnel. Some locations did not have at all, but also that there were locations that are hotspot regions or flashpoints.
Yes.
But we did not have deployments there. So that is for the commission, for the security to respond to. And I think for these elections, it's beyond INEC even for accountability. We also need to call on the security, the police especially, to be accountable for their issues and to tell us who they have arrested.
Exactly.
That disrupted people, processes of forced violence. We need them arrested. If people are not arrested and prosecuted and sentenced, the impunity will not stop. And this is where we need the police to act, because they can no longer sit back and act like they are non-actors.
Okay.
And we need to see arrest of criminals.
Excellent. Right. My organ next to me is about to throw me off, but before we go and before you go, don't worry. Right. This final comment, and I think it's an excellent place to close. Good afternoon, Sisioge. I'm enjoying this ride you and Cynthia are taking us on this afternoon. The destination is for us to come out on March 11th to vote. Will INEC use its rules as stipulated for this election, or they will jettison the use of BVAS for the transmission of results from polling units to its IRF? If they will not use it, then let us know how to protect ourselves and our votes. That's from EGK from Ikeja. As just quickly, has INEC now said, look, next week Saturday, things are going to be better? Do you think so, Cynthia?
At this point, we've not gotten the information from INEC. We need another press briefing with them to let us know what the plan is.
Okay.
So just to tell Nigerians, please don't give up hope.
Okay.
There is our country and we can build it together.
Okay. Will you send me a message? Just WhatsApp me. But the other thing I'm going to put you on the spot on before I say thank you. Will you be able to do an Instagram live with me at some time whenever you're ready? So we won't be running out of time. I will be in touch. Just say yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you all have to follow me on Instagram at Sisioge Lagos. I will be grabbing Cynthia because she will still be able to do it from home. Cynthia, thank you so much. You don't know how much help you've been. Really, you've probably saved Nigeria a whole load of stress this afternoon.
Thank you for inviting me.
God bless you, my darling. I'll give you a call later. Have a wonderful weekend. People, that's the end of our ride today. Be well, look after each other, and stay away from propaganda and conspiracy. Bye.
From and work even faster. Comes in delicious orange, lemon, and plain flavors.
In that case, waiter!
Ernest Liver Salt, your surefire solution to stomach discomfort. Available in all pharmacies nationwide.
Aha, whether na cash or transfer. Money na money. Once the other person don't collect, transaction complete, case closed. Money na money. If cash not there to transfer, use ATM.